Welcome to another episode of our video series of the Philosophical History with Contemporary Critique.
Hello, it's great to be back.
You too. I have to say, preparing for this one, it felt different. The material we're covering today feels less like philosophy and more like, I don't know, a user manual for the human species.
That's a perfect way to put it. It's a structural analysis. The mission here is to lay out three fundamental observations. One from biology, one from linguistics, and one from technology.
And these aren't just separate ideas.
Not at all. They're interconnected. They build on each other to explain our very strange and contradictory nature, why we're so vulnerable yet so dominant.
Okay, so let's jump right in with the foundation for everything else, the biological starting point. This idea that every human birth is, in fact, an early birth.
This is the core anomaly, yes. If you look across the animal kingdom, a human infant is born uniquely, profoundly helpless. We are, by any objective measure, born premature.
And there's a specific number that makes this really hit home, isn't there? The 16-month requirement.
Right. For a human baby to have the basic motor skills of a newborn chimpanzee, clinging to its mother, holding its own head up gestation, would need to last about 16, maybe 17 months.
So we're born missing a huge chunk of development.
We're short by almost half a year. We're essentially hurled into the world completely unprepared.
But that begs the question, why? Why did evolution land on this seemingly massive disadvantage?
It was a trade-off, a classic evolutionary dilemma. You had two forces pushing in opposite directions.
Okay.
First, we started walking upright, bipedalism, that was incredibly efficient for moving around, but it narrowed the pelvis. It physically shrank the birth canal.
And at the same time, our brains were getting bigger.
Massively bigger, fueled by a new diet, lots of protein, meat, so you have a bigger head needing to get through a smaller opening. The only solution was to get the baby out early. It's a compromise between walking and thinking.
And this physical vulnerability, this is where it crosses over into the psychological. This is the crucial leap.
It is. That biological shock of being born unready becomes a psychological baseline. It's a deep existential feeling of insecurity. That first cry isn't just about breathing. It's an expression of, I don't belong here, I can't survive on my own.
So our entire psychological makeup starts from a place of utter dependence.
Unmatched dependence. It necessitates this incredibly deep, long-lasting bond with the mother. And the burden is so great that it requires the father and even grandparents to be involved.
Which is pretty rare for primates, isn't it? That multi-generational care.
Very unusual. It's a direct response to our premature birth. The family unit isn't a social construct first, it's a biological necessity.
There's that amazing archaeological find that illustrates this so perfectly, the hominoid footprints.
Oh, it's one of the most moving things you can see. The ancient tracks show a small child's footprint placed exactly in the center of the adult's print.
Not just walking alongside.
No, it's stepping into the safe space already created. It's this profound physical demonstration of a need for guaranteed safety, a need that I would argue never really leaves us.
So that's the inner child we talk about in psychology. It's not just a metaphor. It's this echo of our initial helplessness.
Absolutely. It's the part of us that's always seeking security, always needing connection. And that need for order, for a safe pattern, is what drives us to create families, states, and this is the bridge to our next point, language itself.
Okay, let's make that jump to the engine of culture, transmission theory. We all know human language is special, but you're saying it's not just about complexity or talking about the past.
The real game changer, the thing that separates us from every other species, is our ability to understand and then transmit information that we haven't experienced firsthand.
So it's not just about seeing something and reporting it.
Right. A bee can tell another bee where the flowers are. A fantastic firsthand report. But that second bee can't then tell a third bee what the first bee told it. The information just stops.
It's a dead end.
It's a dead end. Or you take a parrot. It can mimic a political slogan. It can transmit the sounds, but it has zero understanding of the content.
It's just a recording device.
Exactly. Humans do both. We understand content we didn't witness, and then we become new active transmitters of that understood content.
And that has a massive mathematical effect on how ideas spread. It's not linear.
It becomes exponential. In an animal system, if 5 of them tell 5 others, you just get 10. In a human system, if 5 people tell 5 others, you suddenly have 30 people who know. Those 25 new people then each tell 5 more.
And it just explodes.
It explodes. The growth curve goes almost vertical. One generation of human transmission can create more shared knowledge than all of animal communication combined. It's unstoppable.
This power also lets us create entire worlds that don't exist, which you connect to a specific feature of our language, the wish mood, the optative.
Yes, think about it. Most animal communication is imperative, run, or conditional. If there's a predator, then hide. Very practical.
We can just wish for things.
We can say, I wish you well, or we can curse someone. We can express a desire with no action attached. This lets us build imaginary worlds, utopias, revenge fantasies, regrets.
I wish we hadn't killed Socrates.
Precisely. We create this parallel universe of what-ifs. And the emotional cost is that the real world can now always feel inadequate by comparison. It breeds a kind of permanent dissatisfaction.
And because we can transmit things we haven't seen, it means we can spread stories that aren't true. Myths, legends, even deliberate lies.
And we can do it safely. In the animal world, if you lie about where food is, the lie gets exposed right away and the signal dies. In human culture, a non-real story, a creation myth, a national identity can be spread across thousands of years because its value isn't in its factual truth.
Its value is in the shared belief itself.
Yes. Our societies are literally built on stories, not on verifiable facts. We are built on non-first-hand information.
Which brings us to the third point. What happens when you plug this exponential language engine into technology?
It's like adding a supercharger. With writing, an idea is no longer tied to a person's life. It can outlive its creator by centuries.
And you have this great metaphor for what happened before and after the printing press. The salmon fish.
Before Gutenberg, an idea in a manuscript was like a salmon swimming upstream. It was rare, fragile. It had to be attractive enough for a scribe to choose to copy it, to keep it alive. Most ideas just died out.
But the printing press.
The printing press was like reaching the ocean. Suddenly you have mechanical reproduction. One idea can spawn millions of identical offspring. It achieves a kind of biological immortality.
And that flood of information eventually leads to our current moment, the collapse of the old order.
It leads to what I call the crisis of folk writing. For centuries, you had a clear divide. The elite academics, editors, priests, they were the writers. They controlled the narrative. The common folk were just receivers.
But the internet gave everyone a printing press.
And a global distribution network. The barrier to entry vanished. So now you have this chaos of information where we're all expected to have an immediate opinion on incredibly complex things.
Geopolitics, viral pandemics.
Right, and there's no time or mechanism to actually validate any of it.
So is this what people mean by post-truth? That we just don't care about facts anymore?
I think that's a misreading of the situation. It's not that people don't care about truth. It's that the folk, the common person, finally got a microphone.
And they're using it to push back.
It's an act of defiance. It's that inner child again, the insecure being, rebelling against the parental authority of the institutions that told them what to believe for centuries.
So when someone believes in a wild conspiracy theory, it's not just about the theory itself. It's an act of saying, I won't be told what to think by you anymore.
It's a small act of revenge. It's epistemological defiance rooted in a deep psychological need to assert one's own reality against a perceived elite.
But that vacuum gets filled so quickly, doesn't it? The folk rebellion gets co-opted.
Almost instantly. Populists and demagogues are masters at this. They bypass the old gatekeepers, the newspapers and universities, and speak directly to the people saying, I'm one of you. They hijack the folk narrative for their own ends.
So a new elite just replaces the old one.
A new, often more powerful elite, the anonymous social media influencer replaces the tenured professor.
So let's try to synthesize all of this. We're biologically insecure, we have this explosive language system, and now we live in a technological chaos of stories. How do we even begin to navigate this?
You start by recognizing the formula for unhappiness that this system creates. Our basic insecurity, idea number one, makes us constantly compare ourselves to others for validation.
And social media puts that on steroids.
Exactly. You're no longer comparing yourself to your neighbor. You're comparing your real life to millions of perfectly curated fictional lives online. Global, constant comparison is a recipe for perpetual misery.
And we're doing all this in what you call the second plane of existence, the world of interpretation.
Yes. The first plane is the animal world. Hunger, fear, immediate reality. But we live almost entirely in the second plane, the world of stories, of abstract identity. I am a liberal, I am an entrepreneur, I am a patriot. These are just narratives.
And the danger is when we mistake those stories for reality.
That's where the real conflict comes from. When we forget our identity is a story, we become willing to fight and die for it. And because of that deep need to belong, to erase our fragile individuality, we are desperate to lose ourselves in a bigger story.
So what's the solution? We clearly need to belong to something. Where do we find that in a way that isn't co-opted or weaponized?
I believe there are three primary sources that are much harder to co-opt. First is nature. Walking in a forest, swimming in the ocean. It dissolves the ego into something larger that doesn't have an ideology.
Okay, that makes sense.
Second is genuine connection, deep love or friendship. You lose yourself in another person through vulnerability, which mirrors that original primal need for safe attachment. And third is art. Music, dance, creation, things that bypass the intellect and connect you to something transcendent.
But you can't just check out of society. The idea of moving to the woods to be a carpenter who never speaks.
It's just another cliche. It's a new, manufactured story of authenticity. The solution isn't to kill the inner child or deny the world of stories. The solution is integration.
Meaning what, exactly?
It means you have to acknowledge the irrational parts of yourself, the lizard brain that's always scanning for threats, because they are a real consequence of your biology. You manage them, you don't pretend they don't exist.
In the same way, we have to manage the flood of information.
You have to understand what makes content spread. Fear, anger, anxiety. These are the emotions that play directly on our foundational insecurity. Resisting that pull takes real conscious effort. It's like learning to breathe properly under physical stress. It's a discipline.
So we've laid out the architecture. Our biological helplessness creates a need for connection. Our unique language creates an exponential culture of stories. And technology has weaponized and democratized that entire system.
And that brings us to the final task, the personal work. Since our need to belong is constantly being targeted for political or commercial gain, the real challenge is to cultivate those authentic connections for ourselves.
So the final thought for our listeners is that the work isn't out there. It's not about changing the world first.
The work is internal. It's the constant, difficult effort to unlearn the stories that have been transmitted to you without validation. It's seeking out the authentic sources, art, nature, real love, that satisfy that deep biological need without turning you into a soldier for someone else's story.
Choosing effortful understanding over cynical reaction.
That's the challenge for all of us.
Thank you. This has been incredibly clarifying.
My pleasure. Until next time.